Spend enough time listening to tech content and you'll start to believe one thing. If you aren't treating coding like a full-time job, then you're behind. Study for hours every day, learn language after language, solve every elite code challenge. That's the culture. And for most adults, it's wrong. If you're working full-time or you have a family, that strategy will burn you out. You can't apply college level hustle to real world responsibility. You need strategy. You need structure. But what you don't need is 8 hours a day. I tried that grind first approach and it works until it doesn't. Now let me tell you exactly what I do instead. There's this unspoken pressure in tech content that you should wake up early, code before work, code after work, optimize your morning routine, track your streaks, and maybe even challenge yourself to 100 days of code. And if you're not doing that, you feel behind. But there's an important detail that no one is mentioning. Most of the people pushing that lifestyle are 20-year-olds, single, or don't have real financial pressure. Or they don't have kids waking them up at 2 in the morning. So what you're doing is comparing your life to someone in a completely different season. And that comparison will slow your momentum. So here's the truth. Most people don't fail because they lack time. They fail because they waste the time they have. And if we're being honest, a lot of that is procrastination masked as productivity. When I first tried to break into tech, I actually went through a bootcamp and I did what everyone said to do online. I studied constantly, watched tutorials, and tried to keep up with everything. And after all that, I still didn't land a job. It wasn't until later, when I went through an apprenticeship and actually started working in the industry, that I realized my problem wasn't my lack of effort. It was the lack of a system. Grind culture convinces you that volume equals progress when really it's structure. And the reason you need that structure more than a 20-year-old does is because your life looks very different than theirs. Let's be honest with ourselves. As an adult, you're playing a game with 3 major limits, and if you're working full-time or have any form of responsibility, these should sound familiar. The first of them is time. You don't completely own your day because of work, other responsibilities, or maybe even being a parent, so your free time is not infinite. The next thing is energy. After the workday you just finished, your mind is not fresh. At this point, you've been solving problems all day and you've got decision fatigue, and now you're supposed to learn about data structures? Who really wants to do that? I have a hard enough time deciding what I'm going to eat for dinner that night. And finally, there's focus. Weekends aren't fully yours. They're probably already accounted for, or your kids or partner need your attention and support. Life essentially has plans of its own and your focus is split. So if your learning plan assumes that you can grind like you have all the time in the world, more than likely, it'll collapse. It won't fail because you're weak. It'll fail because it was unrealistic. But that doesn't mean that you can't make it. It just means you need a system built for the life you have and not the one you wish you had. Looking back now, I realized something that would have saved me so much stress. The people who succeed in this field aren't the ones who study the most. They're the ones with the system. So if I had to start over today, here's exactly how I would do it. I wouldn't do anything that follows hype. Instead, I'd have my own system. First, I'd cap my time at 10 hours per week, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Now you're probably thinking you won't learn much in that time, but listen. Think about how that can stack over a period of months. It usually looks like 4 to 5 90-minute blocks that are pre-scheduled, planned, and protected. So no random coding, no scrolling through social media, and no jumping to learn something else. You start with a target and stick with it because limited time requires you to have clarity. And here's the thing, 10 structured hours beats 25 chaotic ones every single time. Now most people get stuck right here. They watch, read, take notes, save for later, and bookmark. But the one thing that never happens is delivery. To truly learn, you need to build. Now here's the rule. Deliver something every 2 weeks. It doesn't need to be something huge or even magnificent. It just needs to work and be finished. A small app or landing page is just fine. Everything you do here builds upon itself over time. But to get that momentum started, you gotta apply for jobs before you feel fully ready. The job market doesn't reward almost ready, it rewards demonstrated ability. Now, tech loves the next shiny thing, but you shouldn't. What you should love is clarity, focus, and discipline. What we don't want is stack hopping or telling ourselves, I should also learn this. We don't need to rebuild our learning roadmap every time a new framework is trending. Pick a single stack and commit to it. And if you're not sure what to learn, just pick something that's relevant to the market you want to apply in. Once you choose, that's it. You're sticking with it. Stick with one because it allows you to build depth. Depth increases your confidence, and confidence increases your output. Stack hopping prevents all of that. But I know there's going to be the urge to switch, so that's why you need a checkpoint. Once a week for 20 to 30 minutes, you need to step back and evaluate what you actually did. To do that, ask yourself these simple questions. What did I deliver? What did I break? What slowed me down? And what do I need to improve on next week? This doesn't require anything dramatic or overly produced. The only requirements are honesty and refinement. With this process, the system compounds because you're now improving instead of restarting. Now, here's another thing that no one really talks about. The thing is, you aren't trying to look impressive, not on X, Facebook, or LinkedIn. You aren't even trying to prove anything to anyone. What you're trying to do is reach a goal, which is to build a stable life doing the job you want. If you're a parent, your kids shouldn't feel your ambition as absence. And if you have a partner, your growth shouldn't feel like withdrawal. If your plan requires you to disappear from the things that matter, it's not good. Tech should allow you to create freedom, not replace one grind with another. The goal isn't to become the best developer in the room. Your goal is to become skilled, employable, and stable without sacrificing the things that matter. And that requires you to be clear on who you're doing this for. You aren't hustling, you're being strategic. Remember what I said in the beginning? You don't need 8 hours a day to break into tech. What you need is a capped schedule, clear output goals, one focused stack, and weekly refinement. That's it. With 10 focused hours a week delivered consistently, you'll be doing enough. This isn't something that's dramatic or over the top. It's a disciplined approach requiring you to show up. If you're a busy adult, a parent, or a career switcher, this is your path. Stick to the structure, avoid hype, and remain consistent. Because breaking into tech isn't about who studies the most, it's about who builds the most consistency.